Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Adrienne Roach.
It was a cold November night in 2004, and I had gone out to a dive. This was not a respectable bar. The smoke hung really thick in the air. The drinks were really cheap. The music was banging. And I'm pretty sure there were two older gentlemen in the corner with gaiters on, the color of which you would only find in a Skittles bag. But this was the place for me that night. I was having a great time. I had just come from the dance floor, sat myself down, was enjoying my adult beverage, when I feel a tap on my shoulder. I turn around, and there is this tall, handsome man with long dreadlocks. And he says to me, "Your hair is beautiful. May I touch it?" And I was like, "Yes." But only if I can touch yours. And I did touch it. And it felt so rough in my fingers. And I remember the smell. It was like a Moroccan bazaar, kind of a mix of alcohol and clove cigarettes, which I later found out he smoked. After groping each other's hair, he asked me for my telephone number. And I said, yes. Here it is. You have to understand, I am not the kind of woman that would just give my telephone number to some random guy. Usually I'm like, give me your number, maybe I'll call you. So this was me, completely out of character. I needed to hear his voice again. There was something about him, that smell, his voice, the feel of his hair. I wanted to hear him speak to me. So that was on a Saturday night. That next Monday, he gave me a call, and we went out. The chemistry was so thick in the air between us. I hung on his every word. His conversation was so intelligent. It was so refreshing. It was so different than any person I had ever dated previously. And it was like no time flat. We were lovers. I felt this animal attraction. We both did. And we acted on it. However, as we progressed with our relationship, it was kind of like I could feel this stagnancy coming on, right? It was like we were stuck on date number 3 perpetually. I would still get the butterflies when he walked in the room. And I just knew this was not going anywhere. But I still enjoyed him so much. It was, this intelligent conversation, this exceptionally literate man. He was handsome. We had awesome sex. Can I say that? Yeah. That might be a recurring theme. We had a great time together. But I started to, feel dissatisfied. Because even though my mind knew what the deal was, my heart was betraying me, and I was falling in love with this man. I remember one night after we had a very vigorous romp, I closed my eyes really tightly in a dark room, and I said, "I love you, and it's okay that you don't love me." But it wasn't okay. It was not okay. So, pretty soon I broke our arrangement, and I went out to see other people. I never questioned him about what he was doing. He never questioned me about what I was doing. But, when things out there weren't working out so well, I get on my phone and say, "Hey, what you doing?" And we were back on. I was back with my home base. I could always come back to him. But, things were always the same. It was exactly the same thing. I felt that stagnancy. It was, not moving forward. And I said, I'm going to go out and date again. So I go out. I've met some really fabulous men. I've met some jerks. But always, at the end, get on my phone. I call and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then we were on again. So, the years were progressing. And at this point, about 4 years had passed. And after a relationship that had gotten pretty serious, kind of fell apart, just dissolved in my hands. I did what I always did. Got on the phone. I said, hey, what are you doing? And there he was, so receptive. And I went back expecting everything to be exactly as it always had been. To my surprise, things were really different. He was a lot more affectionate. He would send me text messages just to say, I love you, hello, beautiful, good morning. We were seeing each other instead of just on the weekends after we had both gone partying and like hooking up. It was 3-4 times a week. We were spending a lot of time together. The change was refreshing, and the ladies will know what I'm saying when I say he was ready. I'm like, wait, he is ready. He is ready for marriage. He is ready for fatherhood. He is ready to be a husband. I could feel it. And you know what? I was getting ready too. Because during all that time, even though I was unsatisfied, let me tell you, my heart was in a cage, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for any of that. So one night during this beautiful time, this awesome reciprocation of love, he tells me, I love you. This is the first time he had ever said those words to me. And maybe a couple weeks later, we were in the bed again. I mean, that's what we did. We were having the most tender, beautiful lovemaking. And as he sunk his flesh into mine, his voice was choked by tears, and he said, you know, I hated it every time you left me. Don't leave me again. I want you to be here with me. I love you. So I held him close, and we finished. And I lay with him in the dark. And I was like, oh my God, is he gonna die of cancer? I called my girlfriend the next day. I was like, hey, I think he's gonna die. Because I don't know what done got into this man. He is gone crazy. It was intense, y'all. It was like, it was beautiful. And I felt that love. But that was scary. Anyway, you know, I was falling head over heels. This was the most beautiful, the most loved I had ever felt, and it was awesome. So here we are in bed again. We were in bed a lot. This particular time, he asked me a question. He says, hey, let me put this in context, right? We just finished. I am post-orgasmic. And he asked me this question. He says, are there any circumstances under which you wouldn't see me again? And I was like, well, I don't know. Hold on. You know, the post-orgasmic brain is not the best for cogitation, okay? But let me get it together. And I'm like, I can't think of anything. Maybe if you got married next week. I just closed my eyes and went to sleep. I don't know if he had a response or not, because, you know, we were at the end. I'm trying to go to bed. So next week comes along. It is a Wednesday. And I'll never forget this Wednesday because it was June 25th, 2008, the 50th Target fireworks. This was a historic day. Now, this man, this beautiful, wonderful man with this velvety voice and these lovely, long dreadlocks, happened to live down by the river. And it just so happened I was off that day. We met up in the middle of the day. We had an awesome time together. He cooked for me. He would cook for me, and he would make me wonderful cocktails. And I love that, because I like to drink a little bit. So, you know, but we always ended out with sex. Let me just put that out. So we had kind of ended out everything, and I'm like in a rush, because, you know, it's like 7 o'clock, and I'm like, hey, I want to get home. I live in a suburb in the northwestern part of the Detroit metro area, and I'm like, I want to get home before everybody's out here and there's all this traffic. So, you know, let's get this wrapped up around 7 o'clock, and I'm gonna go home. So he walks me out to my car. He opens my door, as he always did, kissed me on my forehead, gave me a kiss, put me in my car, and I was gone. So a couple of days later, I get a text message from him. You know, we've been texting back and forth, but he text messaged me a joke, right? And I couldn't figure it out. I text him back, like, what's the punchline? Because I'm anticipating the punchline. And nothing. I don't get an answer back. As a matter of fact, I don't hear from him Saturday. I don't hear from him Sunday. I call him, I text him, he's MIA. So now the man I love is missing. I am so worried. I'm worried. I'm thinking, did he get sick? You know, maybe he went to jail or something because, you know, I have no idea. So after a few days, I take the only course of action that I think is reasonable because I'm, you know, we're still insular in our relationship. So it's just us and we're deeply into each other. It's so intimate and involved. And before I knock down the doors of his family or his work, I go to his apartment complex. I don't know why, but that was just what I did. So I go to the apartment complex office, and I walk in, and I say, listen, my very good friend lives in apartment 202. I'm looking for him. I can't get into contact with him. Any information you can give me would help. And the lady behind the desk says, you know, sweetie, I'm not supposed to do this. But I'm going to tell you a little something. He moved out on the 28th. I say he moved out on the 28th. I'm thinking, I don't say this to her, but we had just been together on the 25th. I'm in his apartment. Everything is out. There is nothing packed. But he moved out 2 days later, 2 or 3 days later. That is crazy to me. So I am super confused, but at least I'm starting to think that maybe something else is going on. Maybe he's not sick, maybe he's not in jail, but I don't know. So I go to my computer and I do my last ditch effort, which is to email him. And I email him, and about 45 minutes after the email is sent, I get a reply. And the reply is, I'm out of town with no access to a phone. I will call you when I return. Well, he's alive at least, so I can stop my worry, and I was worried sick. I was about to start calling the hospitals and the police and the family and everybody. So 10 full days after the last time I had seen him, my phone rings and it's him. And I can instantly tell there's something wrong because his voice is shaky a little bit, and this man has smoothest, velvetiest, most confident voice. But there's something going on. He says, hey, can I come to your place to see you? I said, well, in our history, it's 4 years, you've only been to my place twice. I always come to your place. No, you can't come to my place. You need to tell me what's going on. He takes a deep breath, and it's shaky. He says, okay. I got married last Friday. So there's a million thoughts going through my head. But the most prominent sensation I feel is if someone has taken a hand grenade, pulled the pin, and tossed it right into my heart. My chest is laid bare. I am speechless. I am stunned. I say, married? Here he is on my phone. The ink is drying on his marriage certificate. And all I can hear in my head is married. And so he asked again, can I come to see you? I said, hell no, you can't come to see me. You're taking me back for a minute there. No, you can't come to see me. I am not interested in a married man, even if I love that married man. No, thank you. I'm not interested. So we get off the phone, and I remember I have a book of his, right? So this book, Drawing from the Left Brain, right? This book haunts me, by the way, because my daughter is an artist, and I had borrowed it from him to show it to her. And I think I even went out and had to buy the book for her anyway, because it's a great book for artists. But I had his book, I could have burned that book. I could have stomped on that book. I could have thrown that book away. I could have mailed him that book. But instead, I needed to give him that book in person because I needed to see that this was real. So the very next day, I called and I arranged a meeting, and I arranged a meeting spot. And I picked this spot on purpose. This spot is, if you will, imagine with me, it is an abandoned Walmart store. This store has been closed for about 2 years. The parking lot is unpaved, and it is a perfect reflection of me because I feel pretty cheap, and I feel pretty abandoned, and I'm feeling rough like that unpaved parking lot. I feel really rough. So I get there. I had some drinks, y'all, too. Anyway, but I get there, and it was a beautiful night. I'll never forget. The sunset was one of the most beautiful I'd ever seen. The storms had come through the area, and the sky was drenched in these colors, red and mauve and purples. And all of these colors were so beautiful, and I couldn't appreciate them because I could only see them reflecting off of his wedding band. And I remember thinking, that's a good choice. It's dark metal. That's very manly, like you are, you know. But I was so pissed. I had that book in my hand. I gave him this book. I said, you know, I had to see that it was real. He began his apology to me. He says, I don't even know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was doing. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just thought, I don't know what I thought. And I explained to him very carefully and in lots of words just how destroyed I felt by what he had done, how I felt worthless, how I felt like I had been in a competition I didn't even know I was in, how I had lost and I didn't even know I was a competitor. And moreover, how he had taken me in so close to him in the months leading up to his wedding. And I mean, this ain't part of the story. Where the hell was she at? Anyway. Where was she at? Anyway. So, that night I went out, I got drunk. It was great. It was not, really. I woke up the next day, completely hungover, and all I had was me. And I had to start dealing with me. I was crushed. I cried a lot. I was depressed. I didn't go out. I didn't want to do anything. It was a task to remain a good parent against all odds. I was like, you know, trudging along through mud. Everything was a chore. But I knew I couldn't stay like this because this was not productive. This was not going to get me through the rest of my life. And there was no reason at this young of an age that I should be out of commission just because someone decided not to love me. So I started reading self-help books. Eckhart Tolle, The New Earth. Oh, that's a good book, y'all. How to Make a Good Brain Great, something like that. You know, I was reading and consuming all of this self-help material, trying to find myself in books. But then, y'all, I found Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins was like my new Jesus. He was gonna remake me. I was getting reborn because he was telling me I could be powerful and I could be in control of my own destiny. I can, moreover, control my own feelings and reactions. And that's what I started to do. I had to start getting control of myself and also to love myself and to see myself and love me. So, in conclusion, sometimes having your heart broken, you know, having someone toss a hand grenade into your heart is actually more like a jailbreak than a heartbreak. Because I can tell you, standing here right now, I'm more able to love than I ever had been before. And when I need to get back to my home base, I look in the mirror and then I say, hey, how are you doing? Thank you.
Adrienne Roach.